An injury to a running back at Georgia's second scrimmage. We're going to talk about what it means for this team. And injuries as a whole are a part of the game, but where are the spots that Georgia absolutely cannot afford to have them? All that and more today on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
See, Daniel, what we did, we hit him with the Euro step, is what we did right there. It was a little Euro step. Hey, if you're over on the YouTube side, glad you're here. If you're over on the audio side, glad you're here. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, part of Locked On Atlanta. We are glad to be here. We are counting down to kickoff. We're going to be here every single day because it is your team every single day here in Locked On Bulldogs.
And what is their team again, Clint? What's the?
It's the national championship winning Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay.
Just so we're perfectly aware of what is happening over here at Locked On Bulldogs. Hey, like I said, hit that subscribe, hit that follow, get that bell over on YouTube. Notify yourself when we get this video up, as well as leave us comments and reviews. Today's episode, 3 parts. We're going to talk about running back injury. Paul goes down with a torn ACL, which reported out of the second scrimmage. Brutal for the kid. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it means for him. And we're also going to talk about, in the third segment, what is the position that we cannot afford an injury like this to? Because right now, just spoiler alert, we have plenty of running backs to go. This kid, Paul, was apparently making some noise. But what position group can't we afford this kind of injury to? So, Daniel, let's start there with the news out of the second scrimmage. Apparently, before this took place, again, cat's out of the bag, Andrew Paul tore his ACL. Now, holy jeez. This is a long road to recovery.
It is. We've seen it before. We've seen it many times.
Many times. Now, if I'm this kid, and if you had to tear your ACL in college, okay, I understand. But if you had to, fantastic news that you got this done right now, kid. Like, if it had to happen in your college career, if it was just destined to do so, it's horrible news. We hate hearing it. But look, it's your freshman year. You were making noise. You already have the skill. You're going to get the most amazing medical care that you can ever receive in the entire world.
The story is Ron Corson, Clint. Nobody wants to tear their ACL.
No one.
But if you're going to tear your ACL, do it right next to Ron Corson, who may be the best in the business.
You have literally the best in the nation there.
If you need some letters of recommendation, I don't know. Maybe call up a couple of former Georgia running backs. I don't know. Maybe you've heard of them who have gone through the process with Ron Corson and have gotten themselves back to not only where they were previously, but much higher than they were previously. So this is not a career-ending injury the way that it used to be in college football. Medicine has come a long way. And again, Ron Corson is the best in the business. But you just hate it for Andrew Paul because this is a kid.
Hate it.
That we get it that some of you are just picking up on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. The season is rolling. You know, we're getting close to the season. You can smell college football in the air. Okay. And so we know that some of you are just kind of coming back into this college football mindset. And we understand that. We see the numbers start to matriculate upwards.
That's right.
We appreciate you. We're glad that you're here. If you don't follow recruiting or the off season very closely, if you weren't listening in the spring or fall camp, early in fall camp, you might not even know this name, Andrew Paul. He was not a very heralded kid. He was a very late add to the signing class. We signed this kid, Branson Robinson. Everybody was very excited about him. But then almost at the 11th hour, almost sort of under the cloak of darkness, Georgia takes this other running back named Andrew Paul. Not a ton heard from him in terms of the recruiting trail and his high school career. But then he gets onto campus and you begin to hear, oh, he's really showing some things. Oh, he's really taking some steps forward. Oh, he's really flashing. Oh, he hit for a long touchdown today in practice. Oh, he made a move. Oh, he might be ahead of Branson Robinson on the depth chart. And then this happens to the kid. You just hate it for this kid. You know how hard he's worked and how he was going to be on the active roster.
He was making that travel squad, Daniel.
He was on the travel squad, and so it's a devastating injury for him because he loses an entire year of football. Now, the fact that it happened before the season even started gives him a leg up on next year, which, again, if this happens week 3, it's a much more difficult road to be starting to be in the game week 1 of 2023. And so, again, you hate it for the kid. His career is not over. We do expect big things from Andrew Paul. I frankly expected big things from him this year.
Immediate impact guy.
And I see no reason that this injury would derail the long-term prognosis for him. But unfortunately, it does leave Georgia without a running back in the fold for this coming season. So let's get into, in the next segment, Clint, let's get into what this means for the running back room at Georgia. You mentioned before, you alluded to, we do have depth. We do have some numbers at that position. How will we be impacted? We'll talk about that right after we come back and from telling you about the fine folks over at BetOnline. Listen, BetOnline is your online sportsbook experts. They are the place that Clint and I go to place every single wager that we want to place on college football. And spoiler alert, we want to place a lot of wagers.
All the wagers.
On college football. Clint, do you know what we'll be doing this Thursday on the podcast? Do you know what we'll be doing this Thursday?
I do. It's a segment we like to call Locks, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the Locks. It's back. It's coming on Thursday. We make you money. We give you picks. Week 0 locks are coming. Get over to BetOnline right now. Sign up for a new account. Make your first deposit. Enter the promo code Locked On. When you enter that promo code, they give you free money on your initial deposit, a bonus with which you can do anything you want. If you want to bet it on Vanderbilt, Hawaii, you can do that.
Which you should, by the way.
If you want to bet it on Nebraska Northwestern in Dublin, Ireland, you can do that.
Which
All
you should,
of
by
these
the way.
things are open to you. BetOnline.net, your online sportsbook experts.
Daniel, we're coming back from the news. Andrew Paul tears his ACL. It's horrible for the kid. Good for him that he has the world-class leader in ACL reconstruction, as well as a long litany list of successful, and I mean successful, recoveries. But what does it mean for running backs? Let's start with the depth chart of kind of the known commodities that we've had.
Sure.
We have Milton, of course. We have Kenny Mack.
Still coming back from injury. Kendall Milton.
He's still coming back from
not playing in scrimmage number 2. We'll get into this in a second, but I felt some feelings when Kirby was speaking to the media after scrimmage number 2, Clint.
Right. I'm just going down the depth chart.
So, okay. I can't help myself.
I know you can't, Daniel. The buckets are real.
I'll turn to this.
There you go. Good for you. That's not a big enough bucket, Daniel. You need a bigger one.
But this bucket is not. See, it's traveling the opposite direction.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we got Dejon Edwards, Branson Robinson, and Andrew Paul. Would it seem like Andrew Paul was ahead of Branson on the depth chart? So we have 4.
Really, you're at 4 now. You got the big 4
to the 5.
Yeah.
Which, if you know UGA, a 3 rotation of running back is very, very, very expected from Kirby's time at Georgia. It's what we've come to know and love and trust.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th being somebody that's going to get reps in the 4th quarter or during the Kirby death march, as what was seen in Dejon Edwards. Daniel, what does this mean for the running back group now that we are at this level of 4 instead of 5?
Well, you hate this because you mentioned the 3 running back is really what you want, but you really need that 4th because he's the guy that shoulders the load when you want the other guys out of the game, Clint. The thing is, you don't want Milton and Mack and Dejon in the game in the 4th quarter. Georgia fans want Stetson Bennett out there throwing bombs in the 4th quarter because apparently running up the score is cool and makes them feel good about themselves. I don't know. We want to win the game and move on with our lives. So when your microphone is muted, I'm not sure if that's something that you enjoy.
I did that on purpose.
So the issue with having 4 backs is number 1, 4 backs is enough. But now you are one injury away from not a disaster, but you're one injury away from a real situation. Okay. You could bring in some walk-on. There's some guys who could play that garbage time running back position. Okay, there's some walk-on guys who could come and play that garbage time running back position. But if you suffer an injury here with 4 backs, Clint, all 3 of your main backs are now needed every game. And you're going to have guys get bumped and nicked and bruised. And so depth becomes an issue, but this doesn't really affect the backfield as long as Kendall Milton, Kenny Mack, and Daijun Edwards are full go. Now, Clint, that doesn't seem to be the case right now.
It's not the case. See, that's what we were trying to allude to earlier. That makes total sense if you got 3. And again, please, if Georgia fan, if you're asking yourself why we need 3 and we just need 1, where's our workhorse running back? Look at what Zamir White and James Cook are doing in the NFL right now. Look at Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, still in the NFL. What are they doing? They're doing that, and they're able to bust onto the scene because you know why? There's still tread on the tire because Kirby knows how to rotate players for a season long. Go ask James Cook how the national championship went when he had the longest run in college football playoff history happened. You need this rotation. Please spare me anything else.
Bama fan in the comments, by the way, told me DeAndre Swift was the only running back Georgia had in the NFL. So I'm not sure if that's.
I heard in Alabama, this man gets paid for his content. Tell me when I said the standard of UGA is now on to be college football playoff or it's a bust of a season. And he said, well, I think that's really unfair. I think the only person we've ever really seen do that is Nick Saban at Alabama. And I said, bro, you hard up for a lot of attention right now. Come on, man.
Talk to me more about the how critical it is that wide receivers stay healthy.
He also then, about Bama fan, he also then told me the most important part of this coming year is 1.5 reliable wide receivers because the best quarterback in Alabama history is Bryce Young. And he just needs 1.5 reliable pass catchers. And then everything's fine. Okay. I digress. It seems that coming out of scrimmages and out of camp, Kendall Milton's not 100%, Daniel, and
he's not.
And I'm officially nervous.
I'm officially feeling it. So first scrimmage, fine, hold him out. It's just a thing. Kirby downplays it, whatever. Now all of a sudden we're 1 week later. We're 1 scrimmage later. He didn't go again today. Kirby's still downplaying it. Still wants you to. This is not a big deal. Look the other way. Please don't look behind the curtain type of thing. I'm officially nervous about Kendall Milton. I feel great about Kenny Mack. I feel great about Daijun Edwards. But I need Kendall Milton to go ahead and be healthy for this entire college football season.
All of it.
And I don't know that we're going to get that. I mean, I know we have 2 weeks still until the Oregon game. There's still a lot of time for him to get healthy. But you missed 2 scrimmages, Clint. That's significant.
Look, again, you as a fan could say, no big deal. It's not regular season. That's not how Kirby operates. Correct. Kirby operates that if the scrimmages, as we've heard every single player that has come out of draft, as we've heard coaches and scouts say, the Georgia practices are more intense than games. And if you're telling me you can't go for a practice for a scrimmage, what you're telling me is you can't go for a game. That's the equation.
Correct.
Okay. Well, if you're telling me Kendall Milton today can't go in a game and he's got 2 weeks left to get right, again, I got bubble guts because
I don't feel good.
No, I don't. And again, to your point, we have 2 capable backs: Kenny McIntosh, Daijun Edwards. I'm not worried about production. I'm worried about rotation, and I'm worried about the long haul of the season. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of the long haul of the season, Clint, Georgia's okay at running back, but this injury brings to mind the fact that injuries are just a part of college football.
Yes, sir.
Every team in America is going to go through injuries, regardless of what Alabama fans will tell you, that they're the only ones that suffer injuries.
I heard one moron talk about as another injury hit them on I think it was DB or offensive lineman, and they said, every year it's the same thing. That injury bug catches up to us.
The injury bug, it's a bunch of 20-year-old men just absolutely running full speed into each other. Injuries are a part of football.
Yep.
And so the question is, if you're a Georgia fan, where can we not afford to see one on this team? That's what Clint and I are going to talk about when we come back.
Daniel, this is going to be loyal third segment listeners, which, by the way,
here we
have
are.
A t-shirt.
We
have
made
a t-shirt for y'all.
Stay tuned. By the way, sign up for the Pick'em League. There's still time to get in.
Ooh.
If you want to get in
This week,
slide into the DMs on Twitter, and we'll get you that link. And or send us an email, lockedonbulldogs@gmail.com. We'll get you the link. Still time to jump in. There will be a prize for the winner. People are under the impression, by the way, I only say this to the loyal third segment. People are under the impression, mostly the Weldon brothers, mostly Colby Weldon, are under the impression that you're the only person who has access to the Twitter, Clint.
Yeah, no.
No, I see the things you post. I see the things you post, okay? So just let the record show. All right, thank you.
I am partly trolling other fan bases, partly trolling Daniel in my tweets.
Most of the time, this is the case. All right. Third segment listeners, get the buckets out because Clint and I are going to dive deep into the hypothetical. Okay.
Yes. You did not accentuate that B in buckets very well.
Okay. Listen, forget about the newest sponsor of the show, Clint. Forget about that. Pre-production meeting is coming back around.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. Third segment. I don't know why anybody wouldn't just skip straight to the third segment.
This is the best segment.
That's where the meat and potatoes is of the podcast.
Okay.
All right.
Go.
Where can Georgia not afford an injury? And we're going to kind of rank these. Okay. We're going to kind of rank position groups.
Shall we just start with the most one and just go all the way down and touch them all?
Yeah. Let's go. Georgia suffers an injury to a starter at this position. We're going to start at threat level midnight. Yeah. Absolutely 5-alarm disaster.
Yeah. No, here we go.
What position group is it, Clint?
Safety.
That's a tough one. If it's Christopher Smith, I might pack it up.
There's a large chance that Daniel and I just turn every episode of Locked On Bulldogs to locks episode. We're going to talk about games we bet on. Each episode will become one game for the coming up week.
Bet on the opponent playing Georgia. That's what that would be the.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I know a lot of talk has been made about. I know a lot of talk has been made recently because a lot of questions got asked. I don't know if it was on the. I mean, do media members get like a sheet where it's like these are the questions you have to ask this week because like 15 of them asked the same question?
Same question.
I know we've been talking a lot about backup quarterbacks lately, but I'm just going to go ahead and say quarterback, Clint. I love Carson Beck. I love Brock Vandegrift. I don't want to see them in the game. I'm not interested in seeing them in the game. Clint, if Stetson Bennett gets hurt, I don't love it for Georgia.
This is a wild. By the way, Georgia fans right now listening to us are beside themselves.
Do you know what they have forgotten? The last time they saw Carson Beck play in an actual college football game, that's what they've forgotten. Do you remember?
I have purposely hypnotized myself to block it out of my memory.
Do you need me to remind you what happened the last time he played in a real college football game? Okay.
No.
Because it ain't the spring game when you go out there and play Tennessee. That ain't the spring game. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay.
Holy Jesus.
Thank you.
Okay. Third position group that we cannot suffer an injury to. His name is Jalen Carter. He's a position group unto himself.
The best player in college football. You can't suffer an injury to the best player in college football.
No.
I think right on the heels of Jalen Carter is offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are some offensive line. Like, it's tricky because one interior offensive lineman Georgia could absolutely sustain an injury to and then sustain the rest of the season.
We did last year.
But you start losing multiple interior guys or a tackle, God forbid, 2 tackles.
Nope.
You're now into some situation that's not great. Yeah.
Holy jeez. Next on the list, Daniel, I have to go wide receiver to this list right after offensive line.
I think you're right.
I know that we have some depth. And when I say some depth, we're now getting into the middle tier stuff. So you tell me that Ladd McConkey, okay, I got Dom, I got Karras. You tell me Karras, I got the other 2. I can kind of go in and out for that. We got some guys who are coming up. Meeks, Rosemary-Jacksaint. But, Daniel, it feels to me like wide receiver as a whole is one group, but A.D. Mitchell is a whole different story to me.
Yeah. Same with the corners and Keely Ringo. So I'll just come right back on that. Because if you have Kamari Lassiter or Nyland Green.
Sure.
With Keely Ringo, that's fine. If you have Kamari Lassiter and Nyland Green.
Something has gone wrong.
Now we have a situation. Now we have something that is a situation. It's crazy. The best player on Georgia's team plays in the position group that we have just by process of elimination decided is the least devastating to sustain an injury. Because there are so many elite tight ends that you just roll the next guy out there.
That's fine.
Do we want it to happen? No, of course we don't. But you just roll the next guy out there, and everything Todd Monken says, all right, well, next guy up, here we go. It's shocking, Clint.
It is shocking. Tight ends down there. Edge defender, I think, is down there as well. I think we got a bunch of guys that could rotate in, and a bunch of freshmen who, by the way, I anticipate playing a lot this year, and I think they'll do admirable job, as well as inside linebacker. Those 3 position groups, Daniel, I think are very, very heavy top to bottom all the way. So it's not going to be devastating if we suffered an injury there. It'd be sad because we got some studs in those position groups, but it's not going to throw out an entire series of games for us.
Georgia really does have that, whatever. But Georgia really does have some really sufficient depth at so many positions. Like there are not many positions that Georgia loses a starter and like you just say, well, the season's over.
No.
I mean, what kind of a poverty program would you have to be to lose a starter at a position and then just mail in the rest of the season, however long it was? Like you just say, oh, well, we can't win any more games.
I mean, it would be really bad, though, Daniel, if you had like the most experienced coach in college football who had to deal with that and like plan and develop around that.
You don't have the best offensive player in college football also on that same team, do you?
No, if you had the best offensive weapon who won an award for doing so, and the best coach,
defensive player.
Okay, this is
plus the best offensive player in college football, plus the best coach in college football.
Same guy, Daniel, that gets paid to represent Alabama on sports talk radio, told me as well that if you remember the Iron Bowl.
When Bryce Young almost threw the game away to us.
Well, if you remember correctly from that one, top wide receiver out most of that game too. So really does show into hand how much the top wide receiver going down affects a game because the Iron Bowl and the national championship, very similar outcome.
If you remember Georgia's entire regular season, top wide receiver and the future NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Lock it down right now. That's happening.
Out the entire season, and Georgia won every regular season game last year. So, counterpoint, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
We built different. I don't know.
We built different. That's exactly right. It's been Locked On Bulldogs here on Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We will be back tomorrow with more content. We'll see you guys then.
See you.